He entered Davy Burns.
Moral pub. He doesn't chat. Stands a drink now and then. But in leap year, once in 4. Cashed a cheque for me once. What will I take now?
He drew his watch.
Let me see now. Shandygaff?
Hello, Bloom.
Nosey Flynn said from his nook.
Hello, Flynn.
How's things?
Tip-top. Let me see. I'll take a glass of Burgundy, and, let me see. Sardines on the shelves. Almost taste them by looking. Sandwich? Ham and his descendants, mustard and bread there. Potted meats. What is home without Plumtree's potted meat? Incomplete. What a stupid ad. Under the obituary notices they stuck it. All up a Plumtree. Dignam's. Potted meat. Cannibal's wood with lemon and rice. White missionary, too salty, like pickled pork. Expect the chief consumes the parts of honour. Ought to be tough from exercise. His wives in a row to watch the effect. There was a right royal old nigger who ate or something the somethings of the Reverend Mr. MacTrigger. With it, an abode of bliss. Lord knows what concoction. Calls, mouldy tripes, windpipes faked and minced up. Puzzle find the meat. Kosher, no meat and milk together. Hygiene, that was what they call now. Yom Kippur fast, spring cleaning of inside. Peace and war depend on some fellow's digestion. Religions. Christmas turkeys and geese, slaughter of innocents. Eat, drink, and be merry then. Casual wards full after, heads bandaged. Cheese digests all but itself. Mighty cheese. Have you a cheese sandwich?
Yes, sir.
Like a few olives, too, if they had them. Italian I prefer. Good glass of Burgundy. Take away that. Lubricate. A nice salad, cool as a cucumber. Tom Kernan can dress. Puts gusto into it. Pure olive oil. Millie served me that cutlet with a sprig of parsley. Take 1 Spanish onion. God made food, the devil the cooks. Devilled crab.
Wife well?
Quite well, thanks. A cheese sandwich, then. Gorgonzola, have you?
Yes, sir.
Nosey Flynn sipped his grog.
Doing any singing those times?
Look at his mouth. Could whistle in his own ear. Flap ears to match. Music, knows as much about it as my coachman. Still better tell him. Does no harm. Free ad. She's engaged for a big tour end of this month. You may have heard, perhaps.
No. Oh, that's the style. Who's getting it up?
The curate served.
How much is that?
7D, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Bloom cut his sandwich into slender strips.
Mr. MacTrigger. Easier than the dreamy, creamy stuff. His 500 wives had the time of their lives.
Mustard, sir.
Thank you.
He studied under each lifted strip yellow blobs.
Their lives. Have it. It grew bigger and bigger and bigger. Getting it up? Well, it's like a company idea, you see. Part shares and part profits.
Oh, now I remember.
Nosey Flynn said, putting his hand in his pocket to scratch his groin.
How was this was telling me? Isn't blazes boiling mixed up in it?
A warm shock of air heat of mustard hunched on Mr. Bloom's heart. He raised his eyes and met the stare of a bilious clock.
2. Pub clock 5 minutes fast. Time going on, hands moving. 2. Not yet.
His midriff yearned, then upward, sank within him, yearned more longingly.
Wine.
He sipped the cordial juice, and bidding his throat strongly to speed it, set his wine-glass delicately down.
Yes, he's the organizer in point of fact. No fear. No brains.
Nosey Flynn snuffled and scratched.
Flea, having a good square meal.
He had a good slice of luck, Jack Mooney was telling me, over that boxing match Moira Kyaw won again that soldier in the Portobello Barracks. By God, he had a little kipper down in the County Carlow, he was telling me.
Hope that dewdrop doesn't come down into his glass. No, snuffled it up.
For near a month, man, before it came off. Sucking duck eggs, by God, till further orders. Keep him off the booze, see? Oh, by God, Blazes is a hairy chap.
Davy Byrne came forward from the hind bar in tuck-stitched shirt-sleeves, cleaning his lips with 2 wipes of his napkin.
Herrings blush, whose smile upon each feature plays with such and such replete. Too much fat on the parsnips.
And here's himself and pepper on him.
Nosey Flynn said.
Can you give us a good one for the Gold Cup?
I'm off that, Mr. Flynn.
Davy Byrne answered.
I never put anything on a horse.
You're right there.
Nosey Flynn said. Mr. Bloom ate his strips of sandwich, fresh, clean bread with a relish of disgust, pungent mustard, the feety savour of green cheese. Sips of his wine soothed his palate.
Not logwood, that. Tasteful of this weather with the chill off. Nice, quiet bar. Nice piece of wood in that counter. Nicely planed. Like the way it curves there.
I wouldn't do anything at all in that line,
Davy Byrne said.
It ruined many a man the same horses.
Vintner's sweepstake, license for the sale of beer, wine, and spirits for consumption on the premises. Heads I win, tails you lose.
True for you.
Nosey Flynn said.
Unless you're in the know. There's no straight sport going now. Lenihan gets some good ones. He's giving sceptre today. Zinfandel's the favourite. Lord Howard de Walden's won at Epsom. Marnie Cannon is riding him. I could have got 7-1 against St. Amant a fortnight before.
Is that so?
Davy Byrne said. He went towards the window and, taking up the petty cash book, scanned its pages.
I could, Faith.
Nosey Flynn said, snuffling.
That was a rare bit of horseflesh. St. Frusquin was her sire. She won in a thunderstorm. Rothschild's filly, with wadding in her ears. Blue jacket and yellow cap. Bad luck to Big Ben Dollard and his John O'Gaunt. He put me off it, aye.
He drank resignedly from his tumbler, running his fingers down the flutes.
Aye,
he said, sighing. Mr. Bloom, champing, standing, looked upon his sigh.
Nosy numbskull. Will I tell him that horse Lenihan? He knows already. Better let him forget. Go and lose more. Fool and his money. Dewdrop. Coming down again. Cold nose he'd have kissing a woman. Still they might like. Prickly beards they like. Dogs, cold noses. Old Mrs. Reardon with the rumbling stomach, Skye Terrier in the City Arms Hotel, Molly fondling him in her lap. Oh, the big doggy, bow-wow-wow-wow-wowsy.
Wine soaked and softened, rolled pith of bread, mustard a moment, mawkish cheese.
Nice wine it is. Taste it better because I'm not thirsty. Bath, of course, does that. Just a bite or two. Then about 6 o'clock I can... 6. Time will be gone then, she.
Mild fire of wine kindled his veins.
I wanted that badly. Felt so off-colour.
His eyes unhungrily saw shelves of tins, sardines, gaudy lobsters' claws.
All the odd things people pick up for food. Out of shells, periwinkles with a pin, off trees, snails out of the ground the French eat, out of the sea with bait on a hook. Silly fish learn nothing in 1,000 years. If you didn't know, risky putting anything into your mouth. Poisonous berries, Johnny Magories. Roundness you think good, gaudy colour warns you off. One fellow told another, and so on. Try it on the dog first, led on by the smell or the look. Tempting fruit, ice cones, cream, instinct. Orange groves, for instance, need artificial irrigation. Bleibtraustrasse. Yes, but what about oysters? Unsightly like a clot of phlegm. Filthy shells. Devil to open them, too. Who found them out? Garbage, sewage they feed on. Fizz and red bank oysters. Effect on the sexual. Aphrodis. He was in the red bank this morning. Was he oyster old fish at table? Perhaps he young flesh in bed? No, June has no no oysters. But there are people like tainted game. Jugged hare, first catch your hare. Chinese, eating eggs 50 years old, blue and green again. Dinner of 30 courses, each dish harmless, might mix inside. Idea for a poison mystery. That Archduke Leopold, was it? No. Yes? Or was it Otto, one of those Habsburgs? Or who was it used to eat the scruff off his own head? Cheapest lunch in town. Of course, aristocrats. Then the others copy to be in the fashion. Millie, too. Rock oil and flour. Raw pastry I like myself. Half the catch of oysters they throw back in the sea to keep up the price. Cheap, no one would buy. Caviar, do the grand, hock in green glasses, swell blowout. Lady this, powdered bosom pearls, the elite creme de la creme. They want special dishes to pretend they're hermit with a platter of pulse keep down the stings of the flesh. Know me, come eat with me. Royal sturgeon. High Sheriff Coffey, the butcher, write to venisons of the forest from his ex. Sent him back the half of a cow. Spread I saw down in the Master of the Rolls kitchen area. White-hatted chef like a rabbi, combustible duck, curly cabbage a la Duchess de Parma. Just as well to write it on the bill of fare so you can know what you've eaten. Too many drugs spoil the broth. I know it myself. Dosing it with Edward's desiccated soup. Geese stuffed silly for them. Lobsters boiled alive. Do partake some ptarmigan. Wouldn't mind being a waiter in a swell hotel. Tips, evening dress, half-naked ladies. May I tempt you to a little more filleted lemon sole, Miss Doobie-Dat? Yes, Doobie-Dad. And she did bedad. Huguenot name, I expect that. A Miss Doobie-Dat lived in Killiney, I remember. De la French. Still is the same fish. Perhaps old Mickey Hanlon of Moore Street ripped the guts out of money-making, hand over fist, finger in fish's gills, can't write his name on a cheque. Think he was painting the landscape with his mouth twisted. Muekil ignorant as a kish of brogues, worth £50,000.
Stuck on the pane, 2 flies buzzed, stuck. Glowing wine on his palate, lingered, swallowed.
Crushing in the wine-press, grapes of Burgundy. Sun's heat it is. Seems to a secret touch telling me memory.
Touched, his sense moistened, remembered.
Hidden under wild ferns on Howth. Below us bay, sleeping sky. No sound. The sky, the bay purple by the Lion's Head, green by Drumleck, yellow-green towards Sutton. Fields of undersea. The lines, faint brown in grass, buried cities. Pillowed on my coat she had her hair. Earwigs in the heather scrub my hand under her nape. You'll toss me all. Oh, wonder. Cool soft with ointments her hand touched me, caressed. Her eyes upon me did not turn away. Ravished over her. I lay, full lips full open, kissed her mouth. Yum! Softly she gave me in my mouth the seed cake warm and chewed. Mawkish pulp her mouth had mumbled, sweet and sour with spittle. Joy! I ate it. Joy! Young life her lips that gave me pouting. Soft, warm, sticky, gum-jelly lips. Flowers her eyes were. Take me, willing eyes. Pebbles fell. She lay still, a goat. No one. High on Ben Howth rhododendrons, a nanny goat walking sure-footed, dropping currants. Screened under ferns, she laughed warm-folded. Wildly I lay on her, kissed her eyes, her lips, her stretched neck, beating woman's breasts full in her blouse of nun's veiling, fat nipples upright. Hot I tongued her. She kissed me. I was kissed. All yielding, she tossed my hair. Kissed, she kissed me. Me, and me now.
Stuck, the flies buzzed. His downcast eyes followed the silent veining of the oaken slab.
Beauty. It curves our beauty. Shapely goddesses, Venus, Juno. Curves the world admires. Can see them, library museum, standing in the round hall, naked goddesses. Aids to digestion. They don't care what man looks. All to see. Never speaking. I mean to say to fellows like Flynn. Suppose she did Pygmalion and Galatea, what would she say first? Mortal. Put you in your proper place. Quaffing nectar at mess with gods. Golden dishes, all ambrosial. Not like a tenner lunch we have, boiled mutton, carrots and turnips, bottle of Allsop. Nectar. Imagine it, drinking electricity. God's food. Lovely forms of woman sculpted, Junonian. Immortal, lovely. And we stuffing food in one hole and out behind. Food, child, blood, dung, earth. Food, Have to feed it like stoking an engine. They have no. Never looked. I'll look today. Keeper won't see. Bend down, let something fall, see if she...
Dribbling, a quiet message from his bladder, came to go to do, not to do there to do. A man and ready he drained his glass to the lees and walked.
To men, too, they gave themselves, manly conscious, lay with men lovers. A youth enjoyed her.
To the yard. When the sound of his boots had ceased, Davy Byrne said from his book,
What is this he is? Isn't he in the insurance line?
He's out of that long ago.
Nosey Flynn said.
He does canvassing for the Freeman.
I know him well to see.
Davy Byrne said.
Is he in trouble?
Trouble?
Nosey Flynn said.
Not that I heard of. Why?
I noticed he was in mourning.
Was he?
Nosey Flynn said.
So he was, Faith. I asked him how was all at home. You're right, by God, so he was.
I never broach the subject.
Davy Byrne said humanely.
If I see a gentleman is in trouble that way, it only brings it up fresh in their minds.
It's not the wife, anyhow.
Nosey Flynn said.
I met him the day before yesterday, and he coming out of that Irish farm dairy John Wise Nolan's wife has in Henry Street, with a jar of cream in his hand, taking it home to his better half. She's well nourished, I tell you. Plovers on toast.
And is he doing for the Freeman?
Davy Byrne said. Nosey Flynn pursed his lips.
He doesn't buy cream on the ads he picks up. You can make bacon of that.
How so?
Davy Byrne asked, coming from his book. Nosey Flynn made swift passes in the air with juggling fingers. He winked.
He's in the craft.
Do you tell me so?
Very much so. Ancient, free and accepted order. Light, life and love, by God. They give him a leg up. I was told that by well, I won't say who.
Is that a fact?
Oh, it's a fine order.
Nosey Flynn said.
They stick to you when you're down. I know a fellow was trying to get into it, but they're as close as damn it. By God, they did right to keep the women out of it.
Davy Byrne smiled and nodded, all in one.
There was one woman,
Nosey Flynn said.
hid herself in a clock to find out what they do be doing. But be damned, they smelt her out and swore her in on the spot a master mason. That was one of the Saint Ledgers of Doneraile.
Davy Byrne, sated after his yawn, said with tear-washed eyes.
And is that a fact? A decent, quiet man he is. I often saw him in here, and I never once saw him, over the line.
God almighty couldn't make him drunk.
Nosey Flynn said firmly.
Slips off when the fun gets too hot. Didn't you see him look at his watch? Ah, you weren't there. If you ask him to have a drink, first thing he does, he outs with the watch to see what he ought to imbibe. Declare to God he does.
There are some like that.
Davy Byrne said.
He's a safe man, I'd say.
He's not too bad.
Nosey Flynn said, snuffling it up.
He has been known to put his hand down too, to help a fellow. Give the devil his due. Oh, Bloom has his good points, but there's one thing he'll never do.
His hand scrawled a dry pen signature beside his grog.
I know,
Davy Byrne said.
Nothing in black and white.
Nosey Flynn said. Paddy Leonard and Bantam Lyons came in. Tom Rochford followed, a plaining hand on his claret waistcoat.
Day, Mr. Borden.
Day, gentlemen.
They paused at the counter.
Who's standing?
I'm sitting anyhow.
Well, what'll it be? I'll take a stone ginger.
Bantam Lyons said.
How much? Since when, for God's sake? What's yours, Tom?
How is the main drainage?
Nosey Flynn asked, sipping. For answer, Tom Rochford pressed his hand to his breastbone and hiccuped.
Would I trouble you for a glass of fresh water, Mr. Borden?
Certainly, sir.
Paddy Leonard eyed his ale-mates.
Lord love a duck. Look at what I'm standing drinks to. Cold water and ginger pop. Two fellas that'd suck whiskey off a sore leg. He has some bloody horse up his sleeve for the Gold Cup. A dead snip.
Zinfandel, is it?
Nosey Flynn asked. Tom Rochford spilt powder from a twisted paper into the water set before him.
That cursed dyspepsia,
he said before drinking.
Bread soda is very good.
Davy Byrne said. Tom Rochford nodded and drank.
Is it Zinfandel? Say nothing.
Bantam Lyons winked.
I'm going to plunge 5 bob on my own. Tell us if you're worth your salt and be damned to you. Who gave it to you?
Mr. Bloom, on his way out, raised 3 fingers in greeting.
So long.
Nosey Flynn said. The others turned.
That's the man now that gave it to me.
Bantam Lyons whispered.
What?
Paddy Leonard said with scorn.
Mr. Bourne, sir, we'll take 2 of your small Jamesons after that. And,
Stone ginger.
Davy Byrne added civilly.
aye,
Paddy Leonard said.
a sucking bottle for the baby.
Mr. Bloom walked towards Dawson Street, his tongue brushing his teeth smooth.
Something green it would have to be. Spinach, say. Then with those Ronchin rays searchlight you could...
At Duke Lane, a ravenous terrier choked up a sick nuggly cud on the cobblestones and lapped it with new zest.
Surf it. Returned with thanks, having fully digested the contents. First sweet, then savoury.
Mr. Bloom coasted warily.
Ruminants. His second course. Their upper jaw they move. Wonder if Tom Rochford will do anything with that invention of his. Wasting time explaining it to Flynn's mouth. Lean people, long mouths. Ought to be a hall or place where inventors could go in and invent free. Of course, then you'd have all the cranks pestering.
He hummed, prolonging in solemn echo the closes of the bars.
Don Giovanni, a cenar teco, minavitasti. Feel better. Burgundy, good pick-me-up. Who distilled first? Some chap in the blues, Dutch courage. That Kilkenny people in the National Library. Now I must...
Bare, clean close tools waiting in the window of William Miller, plumber, turned back his thoughts.
They could. And watch it all the way down. Swallow a pin, sometimes come out of the ribs years after. Tour around the body, changing biliary duct, spleen squirting liver, gastric juice coils of intestines like pipes. But the poor buffer would have to stand all the time with his insides, entrails on show. Science. A cenar teco. What does that teco mean? Tonight, perhaps. Don Giovanni, thou hast me invited to come to supper tonight. Dum-dum-dum. Doesn't go properly. Keys. 2 months if I get Nanetti to. That'll be £2.10. About £2.8. 3 Heinz owes me. £2.11. Prescott's dye works van over there. If I get Billy Prescott's ad, £2.15. 5 guineas about. On the pig's back. Could buy one of those silk petticoats for Molly, colour of her new garters. Today. Today? Not think. Tour the south, then. What about English watering places? Brighton, Margate, piers by moonlight, her voice floating out. Those lovely seaside girls.
Against John Long's, a drowsing loafer lounged in heavy thought, gnawing a crusted knuckle.
Handyman wants job. Small wages will eat anything.
Mr. Bloom turned at Gray's confectioner's window of unbought tarts, and passed the Reverend Thomas Conlon's bookstall.
Why, I left the Church of Rome. Bird's nest. Women run him. They say they used to give pauper children soup to change to Protestants in the time of the potato blight. Society over the way Papa went to for the conversion of poor Jews. Same bait. Why we left the Church of Rome.
A blind stripling stood tapping the curbstone with his slender cane.
No tram in sight. Wants to cross. Do you want to cross?
Mr. Bloom asked. The blind stripling did not answer. His wall face frowned weakly. He moved his head uncertainly.
You're in Dawson Street,
Mr. Bloom said.
Molesworth Street is opposite. Do you want to cross? There's nothing in the way.
The cane moved out trembling to the left. Mr. Bloom's eye followed its line, and saw again the dye works van drawn up before Drago's.
Where I saw his brilliantined hair just when I was... Horse drooping. Driver in John Long's, slaking his drought. There's a van there,
Mr. Bloom said.
But it's not moving. I'll see you across. Do you want to go to Molesworth Street?
Yes,
The stripling answered.
South Frederick Street.
Come.
Mr. Bloom said. He touched the thin elbow gently, then took the limp, seeing hand to guide it forward.
Say something to him. Better not do the condescending. They mistrust what you tell them. Pass a common remark. The rain kept off. No answer. Stains on his coat. Slobbers his food, I suppose. Tastes. All different for him. Have to be spoon-fed first. Like a child's hand, his hand. Like Millie's was. Sensitive. Sizing me up, I dare say, from my hand. Wonder if he has a name. Van. Keep his cane clear of the horse's legs. Tired drudge, get his doze. That's right, clear. Behind a bull, in front of a horse.
Thanks, sir.
Knows I'm a man. Voice. Right now? First turn to the left.
The blind stripling tapped the curbstone and went on his way, drawing his cane back, feeling again. Mr. Bloom walked behind the eyeless feet, a flat-cut suit of herringbone tweed.
Poor young fellow. How on earth did he know that van was there? Must have felt it. See things in their foreheads, perhaps. Kind of sense of volume, weight, or size of it. Something blacker than the dark. Wonder if he'd feel it if something was removed, feel a gap. Queer idea of Dublin he must have, tapping his way round by the stones. Could he walk in a beeline if he hadn't that cane? Bloodless, pious face, like a fellow going in to be a priest. Penrose, that was that chap's name. Look at all the things they can learn to do. Read with their fingers, tune pianos. Oh, we are surprised they have any brains. Why, we think a deformed person or a hunchback clever if he says something we might say. Of course, the other senses are more. Embroider, plait baskets. People ought to help. Work basket I could buy. Molly's birthday. Hates sewing. Might take an objection. Dark men, they call them. Sense of smell must be stronger, too. Smells on all sides, bunched together. Each street, different smell. Each person, too. Then the spring, the summer. Smells, tastes. They say you can't taste wines with your eyes shut or a cold in the head. Also smoke in the dark, they say, get no pleasure. And with a woman, for instance. More shameless not seeing. That girl passing the Stuart Institution, head in the air. Look at me. I have them all on. Must be strange not to see her. Kind of a form in his mind's eye. The voice temperature when he touches her with fingers. Must almost see the lines, the curves. His hands on her hair, for instance. Say it was black, for instance. Good, we call it black. Then passing over her white skin. Different feel, perhaps. Feeling of white. Post office. Must answer. Fag today. Sent her a postal order, 2 shillings, half a crown. Accept my little present. Stationer's just here, too. Wait. Think over it.
With a gentle finger he felt ever so slowly the hair combed back above his ears.
Again, fibres of fine, fine straw.
Then gently his finger felt the skin of his right cheek.
Downy hair there, too. Not smooth enough. The belly is the smoothest. No one about. There he goes into Frederick Street. Perhaps to Levenston's Dancing Academy piano. Might be settling my braces.
Walking by Dorn's public house, he slid his hand between waistcoat and trousers, and pulling aside his shirt gently, felt a slack fold of his belly.
But I know it's white-yellow. Want to try in the dark to see.
He withdrew his hand and pulled his dress too.
Poor fellow. Quite a boy. Terrible, really terrible. What dreams would he have not seeing? Life a dream for him. Where is the justice being born that way? All those women and children, excursion, bean feast, burned and drowned in New York, Holocaust. Karma, they call that, transmigration for sins you did in a past life. The reincarnation. Met him by Kosis. Dear, dear, dear. Pity, of course. But somehow you can't cotton on to them some way. Sir Frederick Falconer going into the Freemasons' Hall. Solemn as Troy. After his good lunch in Ellsford Terrace. Old legal cronies cracking a magnum. Tales of the bench and the sizes. And annals of the Bluecoat School. I sentenced him to 10 years. I suppose he'd turn up his nose at that stuff I drank. Vintage wine for them. The year marked on a dusty bottle. Has his own ideas of justice in the recorder's court. Well-meaning old man. Police charge sheets crammed with cases get their percentage manufacturing crime. Sends them to the right about. The devil on moneylenders. Gave Reuben J. a great straw-calling. Now he's really what they call a dirty Jew. Power those judges have. Crusty old topers in wigs, bare with a sore paw. And may the Lord have mercy on your soul. Hello. Placard. Myra's Bazaar. His Excellency the Lord Lieutenant. 16th, today it is. In aid of funds for Mercer's Hospital. The Messiah was first given for that. Yes, Handel. What about going out there? Ballsbridge. Drop in on Keys. No use sticking to him like a leech. Wear out my welcome. Sure to know someone on the gate.
Mr. Bloom came to Kildare Street.
First I must library. Straw hat in sunlight, tan shoes, turn-up trousers. It is.
His heart quapped softly.
To the right, museum, goddesses.
He swerved to the right.
Is it? Almost certain. Won't look, wine in my face. Why did I? Too heady. Yes, it is, the walk. Not see, get on.
Making for the museum gate with long, windy strides, he lifted his eyes.
Handsome building, Sir Thomas Deane designed. Not following me. Didn't see me, perhaps. Light in his eyes.
The flutter of his breath came forth in short sighs.
Quick, cold statues. Quiet there. Safe in a minute. No, didn't see me. After 2, just at the gate. My heart.
His eyes, beating, looked steadfastly at cream curves of stone.
Sir Thomas Deane was the Greek architecture. Look for something,
His hasty hand went quick into a pocket, took out, read unfolded, Agendath Netain.
Where did I? Busy looking for.
He thrust back quickly Agendath.
Afternoon, she said. I'm looking for that. Yes, that. Try all pockets. Hanker, Freeman, where did I? Ah, yes, trousers. Purse. Potato. Where did I? Hurry. Walk quietly. Moment more. My heart.
His hand looking for the...
Where did I put...
Found in his hip pocket soap.
Lotion have to call. Tepid paper stuck. Ah, soap there. Yes. Gate. Safe.